Hello, welcome back to another Tabletop Talk. This is something that I've been thinking about doing for a while. Not sure anybody would be interested, but I'll be the first to admit that I think about this hobby probably too much. And so, one thing I've been thinking about recently is what I look for in a baseball sim. Now, even though this is talking about baseball, I assume that a lot of this would apply to other games. Obviously, I play other sports sims, as those of you who are familiar with the channel have seen, but baseball is my favorite and the one I play the most. And so the one that I could speak to the most about, but again, quite a lot of this stuff will apply. So I have a lot of random notes, so I'm not exactly for sure how organized this will be, but I just wanted to share some thoughts about what I look for in a baseball sim. So, starting out, I'd like to say that this is a great time to be in this hobby. I've said that in other videos, and I still believe it to be very true, um, especially baseball. As I've gotten to other sims, there seems to be more options for baseball. I know that when I got into hockey, I was kind of disappointed that the options that I have in baseball aren't available in hockey. Someday, hopefully, they will. But especially for baseball, the options are just great, especially from when I was a kid till now. Just so much more options for the computer, for the different games that are available, for the availability of as played lineups, the tools that are available to get those into your replays, stats that are available. I mean, just so much available, books that are available about the different seasons. Just a great time to be in this hobby as the options are many and varied. And so the things that I'm talking about are just sharing my perspective. I'm sure many others have different perspectives. And so, what you're looking for is going to vary from person to person. And as most people in the community agree, there are no right or wrong. It's what you are looking for, and so if it's what you enjoy to do, then do it. Like Baseball Demo says, play the game you like the way you like to play it, and have fun. As he usually says at the end of his games, which I agree 100%. So as far as what you're looking for, and the reason I'm not wearing my glasses is because I need bifocals, and so I do have a lot of notes on this one, so I want to be able to see. So sorry about that. Um, what you're looking for is weighted, and so of the things that I'm mentioning today, there's certain things that what some people would call deal breakers that just they have to have this in their sim, and there's other things that are important but not deal breakers, and it also changes over time. As you get older, as you experiment more with different sims, even as you play other sports, it just kind of informs what you're looking for, and so it can change over time. It could change with what you're trying to accomplish in a particular replay. Again, one project you're doing may not be exactly what you want in the next project, so a different game might supply uh, different things. And so, again, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish with your replay, with your experience. Again, if as you play different games, that can inform what you're looking for. Quite often, when you don't try the different options, you don't know what you're missing, and sometimes that can be a good thing. I've talked to folks who have one game and they're perfectly content with it, have no desire to try something else, and there's nothing wrong with that. I kind of envy them in some way. I'm glad I took the journey that I have, but I could see the value in having one game and sticking to it. So again, what we're looking for will vary greatly, from person to person, and even um, as we grow, mature, change, and get into the hobby in different areas, where you're at will inform what you're looking for. So again, these are no particular order, and I probably will cross over a few, but just some things, some thoughts that I had. The first thing would be ease of play versus detail. And that's a pretty big one. So, for example, um, there's a kind of a tension there, because most games either are going to be very detailed and not as easy to play, or they're going to be pretty easy to play and not as detailed. And again, that's not an exact science, but so if you're looking for a nice, quick baseball game, that's going to inform what you want. If you want more detail, and of course, that would be things like lefty righty splits, which for me is a big deal, not always a deal breaker. Uh, for my desert island game, the one, if I could only have one game and only play it ever again, lefty righties would be something that's a must, but not for every game I play. So, arm ratings, individual range ratings, run and steal ratings, wild pitch, pass balls, balks. Um, you know, in order to get that kind of detail, runner advancement, again, inside pitch, just as an example, has great runner advancement, but it is the one thing that a lot of people complain the most about because it takes some figuring out, to determine what happens. Whereas ATBA does take some running into consideration, but and even History Maker for that matter, but you don't have to do any figuring. It tells you what happens. But it's not nearly as detailed. So that's kind of a good example of what I'm talking about. As far as that detail, the ease of play, and of course, tied into this is the length it takes to play a game. Again, ATBA, one of the selling points to it is that you can get through a game relatively quick. Games like Inside Pitch take a bit longer, and then you've got everything in between. So, are you wanting to get a lot of games in? So, again, for me, as most of you know, I've been dabbling into APA, and one thing it does that I enjoy is that I can get more games in. So, tackling a project where I play every game of the season, ATBA obviously would be, for me, my first choice for that, as opposed to Inside Pitch or Strat Super Advanced, because those tend to take a lot longer. And so, um, so for me, again, it depends on what I'm trying to do. If I want to do like a season replay where I want to do one team, I want something more detailed than ATBA. But if I'm wanting to do a every game, then I can accept that ATBA is not as detailed, as as say, Inside Pitch or Strat Super Advanced. Um, Another thing is kind of inside of that is the levels of play inside the game, the options, and so the built-in options as well as the ability to tweak a game. So again, ATBA is well known for being very tweakable. Strat is great because you've got 3 levels of options: basic, advanced, and super advanced, all in the same game. Um, Payoff Pitch has those options, but you have to buy different cards. Like you can buy cards with a left-right split, or you can buy cards that are not with the splits, but you have to pay separate for those. So again, a game like Strat, where you have all 3 inside the same cards, that's definitely a selling point. So having those options is something that's important to me. It's another reason why I like Strat so much, is because you can do that. Now, granted, I never play Strat Basic, but it's there if I want it. I know Baseball Demos is doing a project now with 2015 where he's using just the advanced, and that's a very interesting, And so having the options inside the game is a very a good selling point. and something that I like. The tweakability for me is not as big a deal because I'm personally am not a tweaker. I tend to like to follow the rules, and not to say I won't do some home rules, but I kind of like to follow the intent of the creator of the games. And so, whereas other people just go all crazy and invent I mean, ID Jester is known for that. I mean, he's really good at coming up with things that can tweak the game. And I mean, quite a lot of his stuff is even used by others. And so, but for me, I'm not a tweaker. I want to play the game kind of as it is. Not to say that I won't, but as a rule, I prefer. So for me, having the options built into the game is kind of a thing for me. Statistical accuracy. Now that is a wide open thing. Some people, really want their replays to come out almost exactly. Other people are okay with them being wildly different. I probably would be in the middle. When I do a replay, even when I do an as played, I guess I have um, expectations in my mind as to what's realistic and what's not, but it's pretty wide open. Again, like for example, in my 1946 replay, I can't remember the guy's name, but he played third base for the Dodgers. He played the first game, and that was it, and he went 0 for 4. In my replay, he actually got a hit, and so I like that. And now some people would, well, he didn't get a hit, and I just can't tolerate that. And again, for me personally, I'm glad he got a hit. That's interesting for me. And so, statistical accuracy, again, is something you're looking for. Strat is known for that. I think History Maker would be a little bit more open-ended, especially with their, their pre-game things that you roll for, so that it can really affect a player and make them have a subpar year or a better year. So overall, I probably would tend to, even though Strat's my favorite game, I would say that I like the variability. I want there to be options. If a guy went 0 for 8, I want him to have the ability to have a hit. Again, now if he went 8 for 8, then I might be a little concerned. A guy who hit 2 home runs, if he hits 25, but just about all of these games are not going to do things like that. And so, for me, I want it to be in the ballpark. But if it comes out exactly the same, I wouldn't enjoy that because I want to watch the game. And as I've said in other videos, if you played in real life, the exact same season with every variable the same, which again is impossible. If you did that 10 times, they would probably, the variability would be pretty wide, because just a lot of things can change even if you have everything the same. So, when I do a replay, I like there to be, some, but again, statistical accuracy is a big deal for a lot of people. For me, it's kind of in the middle. Quality components is for me is a big deal. Payoff pitch has the best that I own, and they're fun to play with. Atma cards, I enjoy them very much. They're fun to be in my hand. I had one person ask me why I would have the replay cards when I have the cards on the PC game, and I'm just kind of weird that way. I like the cards on the table, even if I have a picture of them on the screen. And so the quality of the cards for me is a big deal. That's one thing about History Maker that is a turnoff for me, is that their cards are small and flimsy and just not very impressive. And again, for the game, that they don't need to be. For some people, that's not a big deal, but for me, it is. I like good quality cards, and if they feel good in my hand and I enjoy playing with them, that motivates me to play more. And so for me, that's a big deal. So as far as the cards, pre-cut, already sorted, come with the envelopes. To me, I love that. Some people enjoy tearing the strat cards apart. I'm not one of them. I know replay comes pre-cut and mostly sorted. ATBA comes pre-cut, sorted, in alphabetical order. They come with their own envelopes. So I really like that. I just pull the cards out, put them in their envelopes, and I'm ready to play. And so for me, that's a big deal. I don't like perforated. I know, like inside pitch, Strat's perforated, but they don't leave a lot of the little white boogers. Whereas inside pitch, and again, these are just my critiques. All these games are great. It's just sometimes I think people enjoy hearing others' perspective, and it kind of helps hone theirs. So that's the only reason I'm sharing. They leave the little white boogers all everywhere, and so for the inside pitch seasons I actually prefer the PDF because I can do them myself and cut them a little cleaner. But again, for some people, that the quality of the cards makes no difference. For me, it's kind of a big deal. And then as far as the how many cards are in the set, extra players, pitchers hitting cards, so like for example, some of the ATBA seasons, the 46 I had has a card for every single player. Replay has a lot of players, and you can download a free PDF for the extra players. Payoff pitch, most of their seasons come with every single player. And so if you're trying to do an as played replay, that's kind of a big deal. I'm kind of, I don't have a favorite there. I like as played. I'm doing some replays where I'm using just the cards that are available. And again, most sets are going to have at least 25 per card, unless you get like a really old APBA set without the extra players. And then a lot of it depends on the year. Back in the 20s, they didn't use as many players, so you can get by with fewer cards. But those are options that mean a lot for some people, and for others, it doesn't. For me, I like to have all the cards. It just gives me more options, and so again, payoff pitched obviously delivers that. Strat, that's one of their weaknesses, is that you even with the extra players, you don't get every player, and again, if you want every player, you have to figure out other options because they don't provide them, again, like replay does. So, that's something to consider. For me, I go both ways. I've bought a couple of the retro ATBA sets, just for the nostalgia and the aesthetics of them, their older cards. And obviously they come with about 24, 25 players per card if you have the extra players. And so I'm okay with that for some seasons. And then, I like my 46 set that has every player. So, the available seasons, again, is another deal breaker for a lot of people for Strat. ATBA has every season. Not every season has the same amount of cards. A lot of them just have 400 players. There's other ones that have every player. They don't have the same master symbols, for every season. So even though they have every season doesn't have the same options. And of course, replay has some seasons, payoff has some seasons, Strat has some seasons, and again, that's probably one of the biggest complaints on Strat is that there are available seasons that are in cards. You can get every season on computer, but their cards obviously are limited. The last couple of years, they have been adding more reprints and things like that, and so the secondary market, obviously, for Strat is pretty exorbitant at times. So for me, one thing I'm really getting into is actually collecting seasons from different games. So like I've been trying to, as I've got into APBA, fill in the gaps that I don't have in other games with APBA. So like 46, for example, I don't have that in any other game. So that was one reason why I picked it up in APBA. And so I'm kind of collecting that way in order to be able to, have at least a representation of most seasons. So I'm as far as seasons go, I'm getting a pretty good collection. Again, I don't care for anything much past probably mid 90s. Even though I do have a few seasons past that. Again, I before that is what I'm looking to. So, but again, the available seasons, if you're wanting to stick to one game, what seasons they have available is going to make a big difference as to, whether you can get into that game or not as much. Customer service, obviously, is a big one, and I probably need to not delve, but this could go on forever. Customer service is a big one. Some companies have a good reputation for that. Others don't. It seems like generally speaking, the smaller companies do better at that. The larger ones don't. Some people are perfectly okay with that. Some people are driven to the smaller companies in part because of the customer service. So again, for me, um, it's not a deal breaker. I would prefer some things changed, but it is what it is, and so I can live with it. But for others, I will say customer service probably had something to do in available seasons, had a lot to do with me trying other games. I will say that. But for me, I'm glad I did. So I won't talk too much about that. Ratings. Um, for me, that's actually, and when I say ratings, I'm talking about the player fielding ratings, their run ratings, their steal ratings, arms, things like that. To me, that's a bigger deal than I thought it was going to be. And so it's not that I want, it doesn't matter. I mean, if the results come out, if they're rated wrong to me. And so that's a bigger deal than I thought. So as I've said before, Strat is the king of that, in my opinion. Their fielding ratings, running ratings, I trust them more than anybody. And so even if the stats come out proper, I want players who are known defensively to be rated that way. And so it's like the whole picture of the player. I just don't, again, I don't want the score to come out right. I want a good fielding shortstop to portray that in the game. I want somebody who's fast to portray that in the game, somebody who's slow, somebody with a poor arm, or a great arm, those kind of things. And so Strat's the king. So that's affected some of the games I like a little bit more than at first because it's more important to me than I thought it was going to be. Again, for some people that's not an issue. For me, it kind of is. Um, as far as the available seasons, PDF or print, again, some people like PDFs, some people hate PDFs. But again, I mean, if you're looking for something a little cheaper and you want to print those off and get started right away, I think it's a nice option. Again, I prefer inside pitches, PDFs. Every other game, with History Maker, it doesn't really matter. But like Payoff Pitch, I don't want their PDFs because their cards are so great. And so I actually will hold out till I can get a real printed set of theirs. And so, again, it gives you more options, and that's not a bad thing. For me, it's not a big deal either way. Support and help, that's kind of a big deal. And it goes a little bit back to customer service, but it also has to do with the community. And so there's certain games that you can get a lot more information about than you can others. And so that could influence what game you're interested in. The big ones like Strat and Atba obviously have, but even Payoff Pitch and Inside Pitch, there's a lot of good videos. So, I mean, most games, I don't have Fall Classic and some of the other ones, but, there's a lot of good videos about how to play those. And so, but having help to try to figure out the game, Inside Pitch, again, a lot of people struggle with their base runner advancement, but there's a lot of great videos out there that can help with that. And so, but also getting support from the company. Again, the smaller companies are usually much, much better at that, and you can reach out to them for help and get questions answered, like on Delphi Forum and places like that, whereas the big ones, the big companies, usually you're pretty left to your own, unless you get help from, other gamers. But those games have quite a bit of help available. A lot of it, another thing is like what you're trying to accomplish. And mention this a little bit, but whether you're wanting to watch the game or you're really wanting to participate in the game. So again, for me, like my 1946, I'm just wanting to watch the game. I'm not trying to manage one team over the other. I just want to watch. And so a game like Atba, which gives you the results, and it's actually, even though the game is basic and easy, they do take into account a lot of the things that are important to me. Like, you got your fast and your slow runners, your fielding rating. It's kind of a team thing, which is an interesting concept. You can do individual, players and fielding if you want. But it does the results are really varied and cool, and so it's kind of got rare plays built in, and so it surprises me still. So you know, watching a game, quote unquote, will determine what game I want. Now, if I'm trying to manage a team, obviously the big thing of that is having a computer version available, and that obviously can affect what you're looking for. Replay is the best. Strat has got a good PC game where you can manage. To my knowledge, those are about the only two cards and dice games that you have the option to have a computer manager. Um, Maybe APBA Baseball for Windows does. I'm not for sure because I haven't delved into that yet. But for me, when I'm wanting to do that, it's probably going to be Strat or Replay. And in those games, you also have more options. Basic APBA, you don't steal. The steals are automated. Replay, you can do the automated steals. So again, depending on what I'm trying to do, um, having the managerial options. And for some people, they don't want to mess with that. They just want to watch the game. And so, again, it depends on what I'm doing with my replay. But, having those options available will determine what you want, which game you might want. Stat accumulation is obviously another big deal. Kurt Berglund has said that he likes to do his by hand, and a lot of people do. I'm not there yet. Someday I might be. So, having the options, again, Strat and Replay have it built in. I think Inside Pitch, their computer game, accumulates stats for you. And then, of course, you've got third-party things like Ball Stat and Ball Score. A lot of people do a lot of Excel stuff. I'm not very good with that. I wish I was because they look to be some really cool options there. But, trying to accumulate your stats, if you want something easier, then obviously a game like Replay or Strat that already have those built in, and probably Baseball with Windows. Again, I don't know much about that one. Price is a big one. Obviously, again, the bigger companies are more expensive. And so, a lot of people don't have a lot of money to put in to that. And so that would, PDFs, again, kind of plays into this. If you can download it and get a decent copy cheaper, then, that gives you an option. But price and value, and again, what you're getting. I mean, if you're getting every single card, the quality of the cards has a lot to do with the value you're getting. The quality of the ratings, for me, again, would make a difference. The game engine is a big deal. To me, Payoff Pitch has the coolest game engine. How much is the pitcher involved? Again, I didn't think I would like ATBA, but it's because it's a results-based game, and I'm not needing as much detail, for what I'm looking for when I'm playing that game. The pitchers are involved enough that it's okay, and I enjoy it anyway. Whereas Strat, it's 50-50. At first, when I started delving into these other games, I thought that would be kind of a deal breaker, but it's not. 50-50, it's just you got one big card, and, there you go. But again, Payoff Pitch is my favorite game engine, just where it starts with what the pitcher does, and then that kind of informs what the batter does. I like that. I like that a lot. But again, a lot of it has to do with what I'm trying to accomplish in my project, as to which game that I would like. Another thing I've talked a little bit in the past is nostalgia. Obviously, Strat's going to carry a lot of weight for me because that was the one I started with, and so it's kind of like visiting an old friend when I pull Strat out. I don't get that with the other games just because Strat is what I started with, so obviously that's going to carry a lot of weight. The nostalgia, as far as like players you grew up with, again, if there's certain times in baseball that you want, those seasons aren't available, then obviously that's going to inform the game that you want. And so, again, for me, I love baseball history, so I like having available old seasons. So again, for me, it's working out really well to be able to have different games so that I can kind of collect different seasons because, that way I got, everything covered. So you know, like for example, the 46 with ATBA. I picked up 39 from ATBA because I didn't have a 39 season, so I need a 1940 season. Um, I don't have a 67 season, you know, and so, you know, but across that I've got, you know, there's a few. I don't have 74. Um, so, you know, just things like that. And again, you know, probably mid 90s is where I would want to stop as far as trying to collect seasons, because once it got into the steroid era, I just, you know, not a fan since then. And again, I do have a few older, you know, seasons. I've got Strat 18 and 19. So, you know, I'm not being a snob about it. It's just I prefer to play, you know, the older seasons when the game was different, that I prefer. So, um, again, just wanted to share these thoughts. Hopefully that didn't ramble on too long. This is something I've been thinking about for a while. And again, I wasn't for sure that anybody would be interested, but, you know, these tabletop talks are just basically me sharing some things I'm thinking. And as I said before, sometimes I think about this stuff too much. Um, but it's kind of part of the fun for me, you know, when I can and I'm not you know, doing anything else, and you know, I think about my replay, or I think about, you know, something I'm working on, or a new game that I've been playing. You know, I just kind of naturally think about these kind of things, and so you know, like this channel, everything else, I'm just sharing my little corner of the baseball sim or sports sim universe. So as usual, would appreciate any comments. I really enjoy the comments. Again, if you post a comment, glasses are crooked, and I don't respond back, it's because for some reason, sometimes I can see the notification, but it won't let me get to the comment. And so I know, like, if you put any kind of email address or website, I believe it automatically blocks those. So again, if you leave a comment and I don't respond back, it's because that I can't get to it, because I really enjoy the comments and the interaction, and to me, that's kind of part of the fun. So anyway, feel free to share your thoughts on the matter. I'm sure this wasn't exhaustive. A few things I missed and didn't go into detail as much as I could have, because I didn't want this video to be an hour long, but just thought I would share some thoughts. So I appreciate it very much, and I'll see you next time.